Welcome to Wealth Made Simple with Shaz, where you'll learn how to master your money through business, property, and tax-saving strategies. Your host has collectively helped his clients make tens of millions of pounds in additional profits through these strategic approaches to business. Introducing Shaz Nawaz, an award-winning chartered accountant, property tax expert, entrepreneur, and property investor.
Good evening and welcome back to Wealth Made Simple. I'm your host, Kieran Bateman. I'm here with
Shaz Nawaz.
And
Akil Khalil.
How's it going?
Good, thank you.
So you've decided to join the show on AI.
I have, yes. I just felt like it was something that I'm interested in. And I've been listening to your show anyway, so I've been enjoying it. So, privileged.
You were just jealous. You were missing out and you wanted to be in the cool crew.
I did.
Let's start with a bit of honesty.
Do you know what? That's true. That's the fact.
We're pleased you're here, by the way. Delighted.
Thank you.
Thank you for making time.
Absolute pleasure to have you here.
You can go now.
Thank you very much.
yeah. So, you know, just earlier we were discussing what is AI and the different levels of AI that, you know, we've come across, and everything down from directed superintelligence, generative human intelligence AI, down to narrow AI, which is where we're currently using things like ChatGPT, Bard, DALL-E, Word Genie. The list goes on. Synthesia. There's a solid couple of thousand different AI tools and platforms out there at the moment that I am aware of, and it's growing every day. Different companies are coming up and using it. And this show, we're going to talk a little bit about what we can use AI for within business, within wealth generation, within, you know, how it's going to grow, and how much of an impact do you think it's going to have on businesses going forward and going into the future? Because, yeah, like when the internet started, you know, everyone was a bit, this is a thing. It's for the nerds. We need this, right? Okay, this is critical to business now, and now it's integral to everything we do as part of our daily lives. Do you think that's where, and you know, I open the floor up to both of you, where AI, generative AI, and in the future, more expansive AI is going to lead?
Go on, you can go first.
Okay.
Here.
Well, I think if we just step back a little bit and think about what happened during the pandemic, what really tested businesses across the world was whether they had enough resilience to continue. So you had issues with business continuity, staff being able to work from home, and so on and so on. And what you realised was a lot of the large organisations they invested early. They had a strategy which they then implemented, and it worked. Some companies with over 500,000 employees around the world were able to switch them on the next day because they have the right assets at home and so on. And I think the world's largest organisations have looked at what's happened during the pandemic and thought, okay, we were good here. And the other organisations which fell through realised that they should have had that continuity in place, are looking at AI now and saying, okay, we need someone to come in, we need a strategist, we need a company to come in, we need a consultant, whoever it may be, to tell us how this is going to benefit our business. So I actually do think, well, certainly being in the corporate world, what you do already see is that organisations are already way ahead. They're already using so much automation, but moreover, they're not looking at how ChatGPT and things like that is going to take away their staff. What they're saying is, okay, how can this technology complement our business? How can it grow our business? How can we add more value to the end user? And then the bottom line, obviously, is how can we make more money? Yeah. So I think companies that have the right leaders or the right teams or the right business plan or the right ethos to use AI are already on this. The question really is other organisations, so smaller organisations looking at larger companies who have the budget to see how they do it, wait a little bit and then go in because they haven't got the resources to match that organisation to fail first time round. I don't know what you think.
I think that's a good point. And I mean, you talk about consultants and strategists coming in, and obviously if you're looking at a PLC or a larger organisation with lots of employees who have that budget, they can do that stuff. A smaller one-person band or a small business with 3 or 4 employees usually thinks, well, this doesn't affect me. Okay, I'll look at it later, and I think they couldn't be further from the truth. But I've always been anti-big business in terms of what small business does. So let me give you an example. A small business owner looks at a large multinational company, okay, and says, let me look at what they're doing with their marketing, and I'll try and do the same. Well, you're looking at, let's say, Pepsi or Coca-Cola, and you're selling drinks. Well, they're spending 100 million with the footballer, for example, okay, saying, here you go, put a bottle of Coke every time you do an interview, okay, or they've got billboards everywhere, and they do loads of other stuff as well. Okay? That small entity, even if it tries to do something similar on a much smaller level, okay, it's not going to work for them. Because what they've got to do is say, for every single penny that I spend, I've got to make sure I get some kind of a return. So I think with smaller companies, Akil, if they mimic what the big companies do, I think they're going to fail. What they've got to do is think about, okay, what's available out there, what do we think the impact is going to be, and how do we want our business to look like at some point in the future, okay, based on whatever their vision is, and then see how AI can fix that or improve that, enhance it. And if not, what I always tell people is make a start.
Absolutely.
Because they don't know what they don't know, and they think, well, I don't know what AI is going to do for me. Okay, so look what's available right now and see how you can either add to what you're missing right now, or some of the stuff that you're doing right now, which you can do quicker, better, more efficiently, more effectively, and then take it from there.
Yeah, and a good example of what Shaz just says, actually, I was listening to a chap last week, I think it was, one-man band marketing company, believe it or not, and he was saying that what AI has done for him is allowed him to serve multiple clients all at the same time, do all of their work 12 months ahead of schedule.
A fraction of the time.
And he's competing with much larger organizations. He's still a one-man band, and he's able to do that, have multiple engagements all at the same time by using AI and enabling it. But then you have to know your own business, I guess. I think there's this misconception, because you still need to invest in the technology.
Yes.
The free versions of AI are great.
You get what you pay for, though.
Exactly. The next step, are you willing to spend that $20 a month? Are you willing to spend that? And it goes back to what Shaz just said, which I think is a very poignant. If you are a small business, if someone says to you, okay, it's going to cost you $1,000 for a year to have this one license, what am I going to get back for that $1,000? But if that gives you back 20 hours a week, it gives you time, face-to-face time with a client while you're automating everything else, I think it kind of pays for itself, really. But I think the issue we have, just getting back to what you were saying earlier, Kieran, is that this is one of those moments, I do feel, I'm like you, where you have, you are genuinely going to be left behind if you are not part of this at some stage. Although we are using AI all the time. It's been part of our lives for such a long time. It's just no one was saying it out loud. You just didn't know, but it's been in your pocket for a long time.
Yeah.
Which is the point we made earlier.
Yeah. On all of these, your Siri, your Alexa, your smart devices. And that's kind of the thing. The smart devices have a very narrow, very focused service that they offer, whereas the large language learning models like ChatGPT, like DALL-E, all the rest of them they are not any broader in their native ability, but they have a different access level. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to what people can use AI for in their business, we've spoken about this at length, systemizations, processes, stuff like that. If you can, you can use, if you know exactly what your process is, but you're not entirely sure how to translate that, you can go to one of these learning models and go, okay, for the purposes of my business, this is my business, this is what we do, this is what we offer. Teach someone this process, lay it out for the AI learning model, teach someone this from the beginning, and it will give you a document of learning.
Yes.
And how much time is that going to save you in your business?
Absolutely.
A lot.
Yeah. And Shaz, I was actually thinking as I was driving in to ask you, so obviously someone who's been in the city, you've got vast business experience. I have been listening, reading and watching quite a lot of people in the city now talking about how AI is going to be used extensively across the stock markets and so on. I mean, they were already using elements of it already, but now in the city especially, they're going to be using it for a lot more of the services that they provide, or actually how they work with each other. Do you find that from your previous experience that this is going to be something that's going to benefit them, or do you think this is just something to do?
No, I think it's definitely going to benefit them because we were talking about this earlier. What AI does is it gives you speed and to some extent accuracy, which is obviously improving, and it gives you a higher level of outcome. And the entire stock market is controlled by one thing and one thing only, which is information. Mm-hmm. So I think the AI is going to give them access to more information quicker, and then give them the ability to analyze that information even quicker.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
and that's what's key. And with that, which is important for our listeners, is that if anybody's looking to invest and looking to become wealthy, what AI does for them right now is it gives them some of that research, okay, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to invest in the stock market, or wants to open up an accountancy business or a dentistry business or some of the business, well, they can go on ChatGPT or any other platforms Kieran talked about, and many others, and start learning about how that particular business works. Now, of course, you can't open up a dentist practice per se unless you're a dentist. And nothing stops you, but you've got to find qualified dentists, or it's the same applies to some extent to accountancy. But I just use those to an example. It could be a restaurant, for example. Okay.
Yeah.
So it gives you people access to a lot of information. Where I think what differentiates the super successful or the successful from the not so successful is the successful ones look at history and look at the history of the particular business that they're going into. How did it come to being? How did it come to creation? How did it evolve? What were the challenges? And a lot of people go into a business, Akil, okay, let's just say accountants, because I'm an accountant.
Are you? I didn't know that. Did you?
And
No idea.
I hide it well. It's a big secret, like a bit like ChatGPT. But they don't know where accountancy started from and how it's evolved over time. Okay, and I think that's incredibly important. And people talk about being successful and wealthy, and say, okay, who was the first known billionaire? Don't know. Okay, what did the earlier or the pioneers do in terms of the businesses they started, and how did they scale them up? Well, I don't know. How did it evolve that people started selling information? I don't know. All of this stuff is incredibly important because history repeats itself, but people don't really go into the fundamentals deep enough to fully understand, okay, what helps us make, create, sustain, okay, wealth.
And surely that is what Shaz has beautifully summarised, that is that's someone who's trying to get rich versus someone who's trying to be wealthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's one of those things that current generation AI is limited by its access to the internet. A lot of the large language learning models don't have native access to the internet. They only have limited knowledge bases that is backed up to 2021. So asking for like stock investments, stuff like that, it's 2 years out of date already. But what it is very good at is pattern recognition. And so it can tell you, once you've fed it enough data, and this is kind of the two big things that I want people to take away from this, if they take nothing else away, is the power of any of the AIs that are available today there are two things that are massively relevant. One is the data it has access to. If it has access to bad data, it's going to give you a bad answer.
Yeah.
If you don't have good data, then you're scuppered from the start. And the second one is the input you give it, the question you ask. If you ask, for argument's sake, what is a piece of paper? Well, a piece of paper is an item that you buy from a shop. Well, I should have been more specific in my question. It's not wrong, but the data it has given me back is directly proportional to the ineloquence that I used to generate the question.
Yeah.
Faisal on Facebook. We've used Visual Studio AI, which helps our software developers suggest common functions and suggests better memory and compiler friendly, a better code to avoid bugs. Most of the AI tools are great for simple programs that may interface with APIs, etc. But when trying to do more complex thread management and stuff that's not well documented online, it's not very good. Yeah, and that goes back to exactly what I was just saying. The access to data that it has is not as good, so it gives a worse result when answering your question.
Yes, and I am of the opinion that the companies who are currently working on this software actually do have access to a lot of data. What we're privy to is completely different because we're a consumer, we're in retail, right? But if, for example, let's just say we've got Shaz Enterprises, it's been going for 50 years. He's got all this data, almost 40 years of it, and he feeds that data to a platform. That platform will be so efficient and provide immense value to his organization that if he just had the 2 years you mentioned. So I do believe data that we are currently using is what they're allowing us to use.
Yes.
Because they can more or less get away with it.
It's gatekeeping the information, but also I think getting people used to this sort of interface. And because as you know, history has shown us, if you drop a big change on people, people are very resistant to change in general. People are scared. Yeah. People scare real easy. Yeah. And if you go, okay, cool. Here's a large language learning model that can do, API integration, AI generation, avatar generation, voice synthesization, virtual studios, motion capture walk around. It can generate someone entirely that it is you in a digital format, and then it can generate a script for you. It can do videos for you. It can
in your voice.
Whoa. Yeah. This is terrifying. It's too much.
Yeah.
Whereas doing it the way they've done, which is this large language learning model, it's on old data. Don't be afraid. It's not up to date. Just be aware. It's drip feeding it in and getting people used to it. As opposed to just dropping everything in all at once. I think the capability is there, and in fact I know the capability is there to give large language learning models access to the internet. I've used it. I know it's there, but it's not general purpose. It's not generalized. Because I used it to summarize our website for me to see where there were breaks in code and stuff like that. I had no problem doing that, but I had to go out of my way to give it that access. Yeah. And I've got to be very careful when I use that access, because that part of the reason that access was taken away to the general user is because the AI was finding ways around paywalls. Mm-hmm. It was giving you information from the internet because it's online that was hidden behind paywalls. And a lot of that information is generally hidden behind paywalls for good reason. Yeah. Because it's valuable.
You've got to pay for it.
Absolutely. Because you've got to pay for it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why they went, we can do that. Okay, let's not give the general user that. That's open to abuse. And so we are drip feeding people, getting them used to the idea of virtual assistants, AI integration, being able to do things for you, being able to systemize your processes, being able to add to your process to streamline them to give you the learning. But something we were discussing earlier about giving all the right information is what it can do, and what it is very, very good at is analyzing that data into a format that you can then go, I can act on that.
Yeah.
Because I already know my industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can give Shaz something generated by AI potentially on accountancy. He's an accountant. He knows his industry very, very well. He's very good at what he does. He can look at that and go, that's right. No. Okay, so we can now teach it what we want and what information we want. And I think that is going to be very, very powerful in generating wealth for people utilizing AI as a tool. And I think that's the thing. It's a tool. It's not a replacement.
Correct. Yes. And I think that's been the issue. I think because there is such a pushback in society, we've started, all these different news programs and, and chat online and things like that. It's been this, there's a threat to your job. Because you do this job, that's going to be easily replaced. But I think if the companies themselves, society needs to just accept some elements of this, But companies, organisations, governments, and so on should be embracing the positives of it to help. But unfortunately, we live in the real world. As soon as you have a tool like this out there and you are doing a job, someone says to you can get replaced, you go on Google and you type in, can my job as a data entry person get replaced by AI? And someone's written an article saying, yep, you're all finished. You're naturally going to be against it because you're thinking about how am I going to get paid.
That's always happened because it's that fight or flight and the fear thing, isn't it, Akil? And it's happened even when the Industrial Revolution started, and prior to that. Every decade, 15, 20 years, something comes along which is a threat to many people's jobs.
Well, I mean,
does that make sense? But then,
how many Farahs do you know?
Yeah.
And they used to be big industry.
Yeah.
Horseshoeing.
Yeah, that's right. But with that, creates plenty of opportunity, and people just don't look at that opportunity. And most people, when they defend something, okay, generally speaking, they're defending it because they feel insecure that it's going to affect them in some shape, way, form, or manner.
Absolutely.
They won't admit that.
No.
Oh, no, I'm not doing it because of this, I'm doing it because of that. Because they don't want to show their insecurity. But it is, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So I think that argument's always going to exist.
Yeah.
But people, and you're right, people should embrace the opportunity because there's more upside than there is downside.
I agree. I think another area where people are afraid, and I'm a student, I've got a 3D printer, I can stick a pen in my 3D printer, I can get a large language learning model to write my dissertation, and I can print it out on a 3D printer, so it's still handwritten, technically. But I've not done a single piece of work. And people are afraid of that, and they're using, there are now tools out there that you can use to see if it's likely to have been written by AI.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Stuff. And I think those are incredibly important, and we need to keep tabs on those. But I also think that the whole question about should I be able to use AI to generate my homework, for example, it's going to change the way people are educated, because at the moment we put more emphasis on people's grades than students do on learning. And as we all know, children don't particularly necessarily want to go to school. Most children, their ideal day is not spent at school.
That's true.
Let's be honest. So we as adults are placing more emphasis on their grade than we are on their learning. And I think AI will change that, because I can print off a grade A paper. That's easy. That doesn't take any work.
That's a bit mean just before the results are going to come out, Kieran.
Yeah.
Do you know, I can't help but
it's true, though.
Think that while we're all sat here, that, if we were to just look at the dark side of AI for a second, I know time is limited, but quickly, there's going to be a lot of organised crime is going to be looking to use AI in an area of, for millennia, people have been committing crime to gain wealth. There will be organisations out there looking to manipulate data of some description.
Yep.
To gain wealth.
And I think that's part of the reason why currently AI is a mostly unregulated entity, virtually entirely.
Yes.
And AI is going to be one of the first things I see in this world that has to be globally maintained and globally authenticated, globally policed.
Can't see it happening, Kieran.
No, I can't. I can't see every country coming to a consensus, and I think that is where the grey area is going to fall in.
Wow.
Is we agree globally on certain policies, on certain rules, on certain laws around the world. There's anti-war laws, stuff like that. The world has agreed you shouldn't do that. That's a bad thing. And I think AI is going to fall into a category where it needs global consensus, because just about anywhere on the planet I can go and get internet access.
Yep.
Yes, but let me just to add to the fact that this doesn't, we're not going to get global consensus, is if you look at Five Eyes and that security apparatus that they've got to do with the internet and monitoring security threats and so on, there's not enough countries that have signed up to it. I can't imagine that happening for AI.
It's not going to happen because
it's not.
There's too many different opinions,
and there's also too much money that can go into it. Hi, Treja. Welcome back. Yes, I do remember you from last week. Hope you're enjoying the show. It's a shame you've got to leave early. And Faisal, more widespread AI will definitely cause job losses for many sectors, including legal, healthcare, and any kind of job which doesn't require a lot of new ideas or thinking. but there will be new jobs created that don't currently exist.
Yeah, spot on.
Yeah, spot on. Absolutely true. I think, yes, if you can potentially boil a position down into a very simplistic, doesn't require any imagination, doesn't require much thought, then yes, you are going to look at, and in some cases, when you look online, look at chatbots.
Mm-hmm.
Chatbots are AI, whether you like it or not, and they generate revenue, they add to a company, they give you answers based on the company's website, and that in and of itself is a fantastic opportunity that people can use.
I mean, when it works well, it works really well, because I've tried a few different ones. Some are hit and miss, but some are really good.
But if you invest the money, you get a return on your investment.
So what you're both saying then tonight, then AI is
It's
it's a
fantastic.
fantastic tool.
Yeah.
If you want to become wealthy,
Yeah.
anyone can start at any one time, and you can use this to benefit your
And embrace
organisation.
it.
But
Have an open mind.
it is just that.
Well,
It's
I
a
want to
tool.
be a billionaire Zimbabwean dollar guy.
You already are. You just don't know it.
I'm going to use AI to do it.
I look forward to seeing what you do with it in the future.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's been Wealth Made Simple. It's been a fantastic show. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Akil.
Thank you, Keith,
guys.
for coming down.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. And until next time.
Thanks for listening to Wealth Made Simple. You can follow and contact Shaz on the Facebook pages Entrust Property Tax and The Profits Wizard. You can also find Shaz on LinkedIn, YouTube and Instagram. Alternatively, email him at shaz@aa-accountants.co.uk. Build your wealth by mastering money.